Statement 2019213. Statement of Linda Romanoff regarding a never-ending road. Statement taken from an unopened letter to Linda's mother. Statement begins. I'm pretty sure everyone has been lonely before. All your friends went to a party and you're stuck at home knowing they're having fun and you're not. Or you go to a place that's usually filled with people, but it's empty. The reality of the situation is that not many people have felt truly alone. I felt so invisible that no one would hear them if they screamed. I think it started when I went to my closest friend's house party. She had just moved in, so I wasn't very familiar with the area. It took me a bit of wandering to be able to find her house after I got off the bus. By the time I got there, the party had already started and quite a few people had shown up already. I knocked, but no one answered, so I just let myself in. When I got in, I found where my friend was. She was already talking to a bunch of people that I didn't recognize. This wasn't unusual because she is very outgoing and is really good at collecting friends wherever she goes. But there was one thing that was a bit off about her. She seemed way happier than I'd ever seen her, and she looked like she was on cloud nine talking to these people. A lot happier than she'd ever been around me. When she saw me, the first person at this party to acknowledge my existence, her expression twisted. She stared into my soul and looked disgusted at what she saw. Suddenly, I felt my face flush. My throat closed up, and I felt like I couldn't speak. I felt betrayed. I left. I left as fast as I could. I had to get out of there. Why? Why did she look at me like that? Like I was her sworn enemy. What did I do? Was she pretending to like me? Did she pity me? I sped through the house. I'm going home. I just had to find the bus stop first. I got outside, and it was dark. All the streetlights had turned off. Why would they turn the streetlights off at this time? That makes no sense. But I didn't care. I walked in the direction of the bus stop. The air was sticky, the air was heavy, and the mist made it hard to see where I was going. The bus stop was only a couple blocks away, so I shouldn't have been walking as long as I had. It was dark, but the road was illuminated slightly from the yellow glow of the houses that I passed. I didn't pay much attention to what was in the houses at the time. I should have. After an extremely long walk, I arrived at the bus stop. Consequently, above the bench was the only lit streetlight. I sat on the bench, but sitting there made a cold chill shoot up my spine. I checked my phone to try and gauge when the next bus should arrive. It's at 10:46. That means the next bus should be arriving in about 15 minutes. So I wait. I wait for what I swear has been an hour, but I'm hesitant to keep using my phone because I need to save the battery. But I checked the time again. 10:47. It can't be. I've not only been here for a minute. I got up quickly, but my clothes felt damp and heavy from the thick fog. There was a house with its lights on across the street. I look in the window. A family. They're watching a movie together. Something's off, though. They don't seem to be moving. They're stuck in a permanent state of joy. I ran up to the door. I go to knock on the door, but the lights suddenly go out. Knocking? I'm unsurprised that there's no answer. So I shove open the door. It's unlocked. In the house, it's still dark. I try the light switch. Nothing. Wandering around the house, I find the room the family was in. They're not real. They're just cardboard cutouts. There's no one here. I looked around the rest of the house. Nothing. Where am I? I ran out of the house. I tried to call my friend. No service. So I ran. I ran looking for who knows what. I just had to get out. As I was running, I kept passing the streetlight that was on. It was illuminating a bench. After the third bench, I had to take a break from running. As soon as I sat on the bench, my legs gave out. I looked around. All these houses look familiar. Then I saw the one house, and it had its lights off. It was the same fake family, and the door was open. Please help. Statement ends. Well, that was... Let's hope they got out of there. Ending notes. We looked into this Miss Linda Romanoff. She lives, or should I say, used to live, in a small apartment building. We reached out to the owners, and they said around 4 years ago she suddenly stopped paying rent. She never replied to any efforts to reach out to her, and when they went to go see if they could speak to her in person, her apartment was completely empty, like no one had ever lived there in the first place. They just assumed that she packed up and left. Later, we reached out to her family. They said that they cut contact a year prior to us receiving this statement. They could not give any further information. There are no records of Linda doing anything in the past 4 years. Everyone we talk to hasn't seen her or says that they don't know who we're talking about. One thing that confuses me is that even though no one can contact Linda Romanoff and no one has seen her for the past 4 years, Absolutely no one cared to call in the missing persons case. So, that was my little recreation of, if you ever heard the podcast, Magnus Archives. I made my own episode. I just yoinked their format, but the story is completely mine, and it took forever to write, and I'm not very happy with it, but I can't do better because I do not write. And since it's supposed to be 10 minutes and I only have 5, I'm going to just talk for another 5 minutes about what went into making this. This bit's going to be a little less edited because I'm going to put a lot of effort into the first 5 minutes. So, the story. I basically just stole more stuff from the Magnus Archives. I wanted to take The Lonely, which is like a fear of being alone, and make an episode about that, because that one's really intriguing, and also the one that I understand the most, because, I don't know, the other ones confuse me, and I don't even know what the definitions for most of them are, and I wanted to get, like, a vibe of misty, like, streets with a bunch of houses, but the houses seem so far away, and there's lights on the inside, which make you feel, like, more alone. And I also wanted to have a character that... I really like the idea of they gone missing, but no one cares, because that's terrifying to me. And so it's just like, oh my god, nobody filed a missing persons case. No one must care about them. As like a thing, because you don't want that to happen, because that's terrifying. And so I did that and added little pieces to it where it was like, oh, there's people here. Never mind. People are cardboard cutouts. And then that's basically what I went with the story, and just wrote every little detail as I was going, and then did not edit it because I don't know how to edit. But I can edit audio. So then I found like sounds to try and do soundscaping, because I've never done soundscaping before. And so I added like wind to make it sound like you're outside and you were experiencing the environment that the character was in, because it gives it a little bit more depth. And I don't know, I like the idea. It's just funs all around, except for the character, because they are likely dead from starvation. And it's only been 4 years for them, but time's moving really slow, so they probably think it's been like 11 years. And let's hope they can find a phone charger, because I doubt they brought one, because we're planning on going to a house party. And also, I like the idea of someone walking down a road and then trying to backtrack, but they're lost on a road with no turns, because that's also terrifying, where you know exactly where you came from, but the road that you walked in on is just gone. Because they were running, and just for a little bit of insight into the story, is they were running and the roads just kept repeating, but it was a smooth enough transition that it was just a big loop. So it wasn't just, oh, stop, this is where it starts again. It would like float into each other, so you don't really notice it until you sit and watch. Because, like, remember, they were high on adrenaline from realizing that all of these houses had no people in them, and they're all just cardboard cutouts, and she's like, there's nobody here. And so she was high on adrenaline and just had to leave. That's the only thing that was on her mind, is, hey, I have to leave. And so she wasn't really paying attention to what the houses looked like. And so, yeah. She has no friends, and she's alone in the middle of a bunch of houses with people in them, but the people aren't real. And there's this one, at least there's a place to sit down, but yeah. The one light being on a bench is inspiration from a painting I made, because I like the idea of dark with one light, and the environment is very blue, and then the light is like yellow. So, and that's gonna wrap it up for the one and only podcast from me. Bye.